to battle and fight and work with him individually, work with him within the confines of the offense, the structure, and get back to being Carson Wentz. And I can't predict, what's going to happen next week or the last 3 games, but I know this week we can begin that process of beginning to improve and getting better and seeing things a little bit differently.
All right, so I've been waiting all week to get Schefter in on this conversation. Schefter, take us inside what's going on in Philadelphia. What are we hearing about the decision and the future?
Well, listen, there's so much that's uncertain right now. We do know that Jalen Hurts will start at quarterback, but we don't know what Jalen Hurts' future in Philadelphia will be. We don't know what Carson Wentz's future in Philadelphia will be. We don't know what Doug Peterson's future in Philadelphia will be. And I think anytime a team struggles, and the Eagles have struggled this year as much as anybody and disappointed as much as any team in football, the pressure always comes back to the head coach and the quarterback, first and foremost. Well, we've seen the quarterback be benched, and we know that there's pressure on Doug Peterson. Now we wait to see the fallout. They want to see if Jalen Hurts can provide some type of spark. They want to see if Carson Wentz can take a mental break and rehab his mind and get back stronger and provide some value later on. There's so much that remains uncertain here in Philadelphia, but they believe that this is the right move to make at this particular moment.
So the one thing we do know, Lewis, is that we will see Jalen Hurts this weekend against a New Orleans defense that has just been annihilating people over the last 5 or 6 weeks. What do you think of that?
Look, this is a tough assignment, man. This is like ice skating uphill for Jalen Hurts. I'm just telling you. Look, this Saints defense is ferocious. They don't mess around. They have got absolute hunters and dogs at all 3 levels of this defense. They're deep and they're fast on the defensive line. They're deep and they're fast at linebacker. They got the best set of man coverage players in the secondary of any team in the NFL. And Jalen Hurts is saying, I get to take over and ignite the offense against these guys. Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. Look, and I wish him well. Look, because you love Jalen Hurts' story. Everybody loves his story. Everybody loves what he's overcome. And Doug needs to do this. He has to do something. He's fighting for his job. Look, as Adam alluded to, right or wrong, people are going to point to him and go, well, if somebody has to go, it's going to be you, and it's probably going to be the quarterback, although we all know this. This is an organizational fail. This team has not been set up right. There have been numerous personnel missteps. And I'll tell you this, barring something unforeseen, this game can get ugly. I would be shocked if it doesn't, but I anticipate this getting ugly.
By getting ugly, you mean you think the Saints could make this a very long day for Jalen and the Eagles?
Absolutely. He could really be in a situation where he is under siege over and over and over again.
Okay, so we'll bookmark that and see. Now, Damian Woody, saving the best for last. I have to give you all the credit in the world. Your bold prediction on this program before the season was that Jalen Hurts would start games for the Eagles. So since you can see the future, tell us how this is going to play out. What happens with Jalen Hurts here this weekend and going forward?
Well, listen, Granny, I think Lewis is right. I think this could get embarrassing for the Philadelphia Eagles. You're talking about a Saints team, particularly on defense. I mean, these guys are flying around, splattering every opponent that they face. This is going to be a huge challenge for Jalen Hurts. And I just hope that Doug Peterson, doesn't take this thing week to week. It wouldn't be fair to Jalen Hurts to say, oh, well, we're going to see what you do this week against arguably the best team in the National Football League in the New Orleans Saints, particularly on defense. So this is going to be a tall test, and it could get ugly for Philadelphia this week.
Okay, so sounds like they have an enormous amount of confidence in the Eagles' chances of working their way back into the playoff mix this weekend. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, Schefter, there's a bunch of other stuff out there. Let's run the hurry up through some of the notes, starting with Christian McCaffrey. What is the deal?
Well, Green, he aggravated a quad injury yesterday he'd been suffering from, and so after he makes it back from the ankle, he suffers the shoulder injury. After he makes it back from the shoulder injury, he suffers a quad injury, and now his status for Sunday's game is up in the air. Uncertain once again for Christian McCaffrey, and if he can't play, obviously Mike Davis would have to carry a heavier load. Plus, the team is dealing with an outbreak with 8 players on the reserve COVID list, so a lot going on in Carolina. As for the Giants and their quarterback, Daniel Jones was back at practice in a limited fashion on Wednesday. head coach Joe Judge said he is optimistic that Jones will return Sunday versus Arizona, which means that Colt McCoy would go back to the bench after leading the Giants to a big victory in Seattle. But Daniel Jones itching to get back and will try to get back Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. And as for the Saints quarterback, Drew Brees, dealing with those 11 fractured ribs, punctured lung, been making progress, eligible to come off injured reserve. We'll see whether the Saints activate him, when they activate him. Taysom Hill has taken the pressure off having to get back Brees in any kind of hurry because he's been 3-0 in Brees' absence, and the Saints right now have the best record in the NFC. So right now, it's shaping up as a battle between Taysom Hill versus Jalen Hurts, and I'm surprised that Damian Woody missed out on that when he was forecasting the future. Where did he not come up with Taysom Hill versus Jalen Hurts in Week 14 of the NFL season?
That's an extremely good point. And I actually want to bring Dominique in here because you listen to this. I mean, 11 fractured ribs and a punctured lung. To the layperson, that sure sounds like some pretty serious injuries. And you see them winning with Taysom Hill. They're actually 8-0 the last 2 years without Drew Brees. Neek, how desperate do you think they should be to be rushing Drew Brees back?
Well, they absolutely shouldn't rush him back before he's ready, because I'll have you know that even if you are not a layperson, whatever the opposite of a stand man, if that's the opposite of a layperson, that is scary. 11 broken ribs for anybody in any line of work is concerning, and puncturing your lung is a problem. So they shouldn't rush him back. But I don't think that their Super Bowl aspirations, they can come to fruition with Taysom Hill. I think Taysom Hill has been impressive. He's been better than I thought he would be, but he is not the type of quarterback I think can take them as deep as they need to go unless this defense is going to shut everyone down. I could see Taysom Hill maybe winning one playoff game, which puts them in the NFC Championship, because it seems like they're going to earn that first round bye. But winning the NFC Championship game against somebody like Aaron Rodgers and then going and seeing someone like Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, you're going to have to be able to score more points than I think Taysom Hill is capable of producing.
All right, so we will see. We'll see if this is the week or how soon they're able to bring him back off. Guys, sit tight with me here. Much more NFL as we go. But there was enormous news out of college football yesterday. You may have seen this. The Big Ten changing its policy that teams have to play 6 games to be eligible for the conference championship game. That, of course, is directly because Ohio State cannot play Michigan this weekend. So Ohio State now is eligible to play and will play in the Big Ten championship game a week from Saturday against Northwestern. The 5-0 Buckeyes this year had games canceled against Maryland and Illinois and Michigan. And so here is our college football crew, Paul and Heather. Heather, take us inside this decision from the Big Ten. How and why did this go down?
Sure, Greeny. On Wednesday morning, all 14 athletic directors and Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren were on a video conference, and they came to the recognition that, look, if Ohio State would have played Michigan, win or lose, they still would have been atop the Big Ten East Division standings and played in the conference championship game because of that head-to-head win against Indiana. Multiple people I talked to told me that this meeting was very collaborative, it was very positive, and I did speak, because we talked about this yesterday, Greeny, I talked with Iowa Athletic Director Gary Barta, and he told me that he told Kevin Warren he was going to recuse himself from the vote. He did not participate in the discussions because he is the CFP committee chair, but he was on the call. He wanted to listen in, and everyone, obviously, Indiana's athletic director expressed his disappointment, but there was a general consensus that this made sense for them.
Okay, so now let's get into some of the opinion. Those are the facts. That's what's happened, and that's what's going to go forward. But, Paul, I want you to react first to this. Can we put the David Pollack tweet up there? Because I like that tweet from David yesterday. He tweeted, "I think the Big Ten did make the right decision to change their rules again. But, man, I'm curious as heck to know if they would have done it if Indiana and Ohio State were in reverse roles." Paul, what do you think?
Well, I think Pollack has a good point, because, Greeny, this is all about Ohio State. I mean, the Big Ten may as well just change its name to the Ohio